Welcome to the Remarkable Life Podcast. I'm your host and coach, and today conversationalist here with Celi Arias, and we are going to talk about behind the scenes a little bit. It sounds like about what it's like to be a coach and to see the outside world and to have strategy in our hearts and minds and spirits, but to also be human beings running businesses. So, Celi, would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. How should I introduce myself? I'm a business growth strategist. It's the most generic term. I will make fun of mindset and mindset coaching a lot, but that's also because I am a certified mindset coach. So don't be offended if I do. I do it with love and grace.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in business for like 30 years. I've been a strategist for a really long time. And a few years ago, I added mindset to my toolbox because I kept finding that I could give the hard-hitting tactical strategy to somebody all day long, and then they would come up against themselves.
Right.
So that's kind of how, I guess that's what's unique about me, is that I approach business from both angles. It's like, let's look at the strategy that makes sense for you, and then we're going to meet you, the real you, on that journey, and then we get to support the mindset of the entrepreneur. So
Right. Yeah. Can you share? I have a lot of coaches who listen, and I don't think we've interviewed a strategist in particular. So can you just give your definition of that for everyone?
oh, yes. Well, of course. For me, a strategist means, well, here's how I look at strategy. Okay, so because there will be a lot of people that say they give you a strategy, but what they're really giving you is their one size fits all box solution
Right.
to what like a
They're cookie
coaching
cutter.
business looks like, right? Because they learned how to format their business from some other coach. So what strategy really is actually fine. It's not just a plan, but it's finding the combination of business model, pricing, offers, marketing, the combination of all the pillars that you're going to put into play so that your business serves you. And
Amen.
that's
Okay.
how I think of strategy, which is you may want a 7-figure business, you may not. You may be love hiring people, love managing people. Most of my clients actually come to me because they're like, you mean I could grow without an 8-person team? How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what strategy is. Okay, how do we get you to build the business that allows you to be in the zone of genius without telling you, well, you have to post on Instagram, or you have to hire an 8-person team, or you have to do this? No, strategy is actually finding the combination of pathways that allows you to be you.
Beautiful. So sustainable business is outcomes you're creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say I'm not for the faint of heart, and I'm not for the one who's playing at business. I'm more
Right.
like, this is what you do. Your business is what you do in the world, and you want to make it work for you. And you're tired of people telling you, well, you have to build a newsletter and you have to email them every week and you have to do it like this. If you're tired of that, let's talk.
Love it. Okay. So what about when the strategist catches herself not being strategic? Let's talk about it.
Oh, are you calling me under the bus? Like right from
Well,
the get?
and myself, like I get it. We both have stories, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, the beauty of it is I catch myself all the time.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Okay.
like I'll just be trying stuff, throwing noodles at the wall and being like, I know this is for other people and not for me based on all of the data that I have. And yet I will still do things that take energy and time that are kind of wasteful.
It makes me kind of want to cry right now.
Hmm.
I want to cry with you and for you.
Hmm.
Yeah. I shared this recently, but a few examples, like I was beating myself up because even though people will say you're a fine copywriter, but I'm not blessed with the
Mm,
gift and talent of copy.
okay.
For me to write a simple email is like I'm banging my head against the wall. I have many, many skills. I've been in many businesses. Copy ain't one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But I was beating myself up because I did all the things. I have really cool lead magnets. I teach, I speak in other communities. I have a like surprisingly large email list, and I wasn't emailing them
Okay.
because I would literally try to write an email, and after an hour in and the copy's still not good, I'd be like, I have to drop this, right? And so finally one day I was like, why are you trying to do this thing in the way that
It doesn't
everyone
work for
tells you
you.
it doesn't work for you, and in the way that all your like brilliant friends and copywriters write all these cool emails, and I'm always reading people's emails and going, damn, she's so freaking clever. Damn, that reference, oh, that meme,
Yeah.
oh, that. And I'm like beating myself up. And I was like, wait, what are you doing? You're good on video. Oh, by the way, I have a rule. This is my anti-perfectionist rule. People
Okay.
know this about me. I have a one take rule. If
Oh,
you
I
ever
love that.
see me post a video on Instagram or the TikToks or now my newsletter, because what I decided to do was I am better on video. Why don't I
Video
just
newsletter.
video newsletter it is, dog.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, it's like TLDR, TLDW, didn't watch? It's cool. Here's the 2 bullet points, but it's better on video, I promise, right?
Yeah. I love that.
I have a one take rule. Again, former dancer, former recovering perfectionist. Every video you ever see, if I flubbed, if I didn't say the point perfectly, if I didn't, it's because I have a one take rule, buddy. And I think that when I started to write emails and I go into editing myself and over
Mm-hmm.
editing myself
Mm-hmm.
and starting to obsess. And that's why I think I do well on video. Because I'm like, all right,
We're
let's
rolling.
go. What do I want to say? Sometimes I'll write it down if there's a lot I want to cover, sometimes not. And I have genuinely, I promise you, I have a one take rule. The
Mm-hmm.
video you watch was my first take.
I love it. I have that with the
It
podcast.
works for me.
Yeah. We don't edit. We put it out there. Sometimes I listen to my own podcast because I can't remember what I said, just to be like, hope that was good. Not really sure, can't remember. But usually it works out pretty great.
And I think when you allow yourself to be in your zone of genius, when you allow yourself to be in flow with what you're good at, it's the best version of you. And the moment that you try to put yourself into somebody else's box or do it because somebody said to do it this way, or well, everybody else is doing it this way and it seems to be working because,
Mm-hmm.
highlights reel of life. The moment you do that is the moment you build a business you hate or resent. The moment you build a business that's stuck and you don't know why. And the moment you're just not enjoying this business that you built. And so what I try to always do, like I had a client the other day, boxer me, and she's like, oh, I wish I could get off Instagram, but I know I can't. And I was like, oh, why not? And she's like, well, because that's where she's a private chef. She's like, well, that's where I like tell people what the weekly menu is and kind of get them excited and remind them to order. And I was like, number one, she's also hilarious on Instagram. So I was surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want to get off it? She's like, doesn't make me feel good. I get on there, I compare myself. I feel like I'm bad at it. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work. It takes a lot. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's do all those things some other way.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you can do that. You can just not be on Instagram. And I was like,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Remember when we didn't even have it?
Remember how business worked before social media? Guess what?
Yeah.
It still works that way.
Yeah. But I think your key word is allow. And that's where the mindset stuff comes into the strategy. It's like we can be the smartest, most brilliant strategist in the world. And if we're not giving ourselves permission to be who we are. So how do you do allowing for you? How do you get there? Because sometimes it's really hard to see.
Well, what's really funny? I don't know if this happens to you, but what's really funny to me is I will literally be running, I have a group program, and I'll literally be running our office hours and answering questions. And I will answer someone's question in a way that in my mind I go, I
Ding
should
dong.
I should
Yeah.
take that advice. I'm like, damn, that was good. She's
Yeah.
like a strategist or something.
Yeah.
I will literally answer, even this morning, I answered a question in our Monday CEO hour where I was like, dang, that was good. And I'll tell you what it was. She's going to a networking event. And she was like, how do I introduce myself to create intrigue? Because I know other clients of mine are in the room.
Mhm.
And somebody in the chat said, oh, just say you're a strategic advisor. And I was like, ooh, no, wait. Actually, it's really cool if you're at a dinner party or at some kind of event to say, oh, I'm a strategic advisor. Or sometimes I say to people, I'm a business consultant, and create intrigue. But
Mhm.
in this situation where you're going into a room where you were invited by a client who you've achieved success for,
Right.
and you're going to be in a room with other possible clients, you don't want to create intrigue. You want to gut punch them. You
Yeah.
want to introduce yourself in a way that the person in the room goes, ooh, I got
Yeah.
to talk
They're
to you.
different after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as I was coaching her through this, I was like, oh my gosh, I have never thought of this before, and I should totally do this for myself. I'd never like thought it, and I was like, what do you do for this company? She's like, well, basically, I created their whole new back end operation systems, and I'm the right hand to the president. He doesn't make it. That's what you say. I was like, you say you are the right hand to 7-figure, 8-figure business owners to their president, and you help them make all operational strategic decisions for their growth into 9 figures. And she's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. That's very specific.
In that scenario, you want to be really specific. And I was just like, as I was talking, laughing at myself,
Mhm.
so I will go to those events and be like, blah, blah,
I'm laughing because I can relate.
I'm like, I do business.
Yeah.
You know? So
I like
yeah,
saying I'm a coach and people are like, oh, like basketball? Like this still comes up. I'm like, oh God, I need to get better at this. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. The other thing you said before we hit record that I want to check in on is the idea that, because something I say to my clients all the time is that I believe that business can be a healing modality. And you hopped on and said, I think that business is a spiritual journey. So I want to know what you know.
Yeah. So I did go to seminary, and I did decide to become a business consultant and coach instead of a pastor. So that's why I use the word spiritual journey, but it's totally a healing modality. So I love that you say that. That's really cool. I'll tell
Yeah.
you what comes up for me, and I'd love to hear what comes up for you. But for example, my clients obsessing about their website or new landing page. Obsessing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
It's like the
oh,
most important thing they've ever done.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Can't move forward, can't talk about my business, can't have conversations, can't get on sales calls because the positioning statement's not right. And I'm like, girl, have you seen my positioning statement? It is so off. Right? And
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh, hey, perfectionist. Hey, how's that? Here's the thing. That might have actually worked in your life. That in the normal world, this is why I think why I love entrepreneurs so much and why I love entrepreneurship so much. Because in the regular world, you might have gotten away with being a perfectionist forever.
Mm-hmm.
I
People
don't
love perfectionists. Yeah.
People love perfectionists, and our society validates it.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably that straight A student that checked off all the boxes and you did all the right things. And guess where that don't matter? It don't matter here. Nobody care. Sometimes you just got to put it up and have conversations and sell the next round of your program without it
Mm-hmm.
being perfect.
Yeah.
Ah, and so they get like, what do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, we get to heal that here
Mm-hmm.
because that's not what's valued here. Isn't it weird? We're in this twilight zone called entrepreneurship. Up is down and down is up. I know. Or another really fun one is like when people get a bunch of no's in a row to their product or service or offering. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, did you think that you weren't going to deal with rejection here? And
Mm-hmm.
we were having this conversation with a client on Voxer a few days ago, and she was like, oh yeah, my whole like teenage girl feelings of being left out at lunchtime and not being able to sit at the cool girls table.
Mm-hmm.
coming up for me every time I get a no. And I was like, yeah, me too, sister.
Yeah.
We need to heal that shit here.
Yeah.
Because I actually think it's beautiful. You probably spend a lot of your time running away from rejection. And here's a space where you get to embrace it and face it and make peace with getting no's or getting ghosted. Don't you love when you connect with somebody on a call and then you follow up and they just ghost you?
Mm-hmm.
Get to create a relationship with that, where in the regular world, you'd probably create a lot of ways to avoid and not feel rejection. But when you're the entrepreneur and you're the face of your brand, you get to like really feel it. So that to me is like, you can either fight it and bear yourself against it, or you can go, oh, this is an opportunity to heal this thing of not everyone's going to like me actually, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Is it okay for not everyone to like you?
hells yes.
What's different because that's true for you now?
um I think for me, I had to make peace with, like, for example, I I'm totally an introvert and a projector and very quiet, but when I'm teaching and talking to people, I get really animated and I might say a curse word and
Mm-hmm.
that offends people. And I used to be like, "Oh no, I should somehow try to, because I'm really really good at what I do and I really can help you." Like there was in the beginning, it's like I wanted everyone to hire me because I'm just like, no, I'm really that good. And now I'm like, oh yeah, if F bombs drop you, I'm not your girl.
Right.
Because when I'm teaching and when I'm in flow and when I'm really in divine like service to you, I need it to flow.
Right.
And if I'm getting tense or restricted and trying to muffle my voice, I'm no longer in service to you. So if that's going to offend you, you know what? I can accept there's other really good business strategists out there.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's not me. But in the beginning, I was like, no, everyone should hire me because I really care and I really want to help and I'm really that good. And now I'm like, oh no, I'm actually really clear on who is for me. And it's usually the person who wants it a little tough, wants it straight and direct, with a little bit of Latina spice and sass and fun. But I'm usually for the person who's like, I'm tired, I'm fed up, I've done all the things, I'm tired of it not working, give it to me straight, doc. You know that like person who's like,
Yeah.
give it to me straight? I'm like, I'm your
That's
girl.
your person. Okay.
If you need me to like watch myself and watch my tone, and I then get flustered and I'm not like fully myself. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, of course I wanted everyone to like me. I think that I got some haters on a TikTok video once and I was like, my Lord, I never even post on here and I got some hate. This is wild. But it didn't offend me at all. And I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
she's come a long way.
Yeah. It's
I
really
had this
big.
moment of like, wow, that would have destroyed me a year ago.
Yeah. But really you're trading in potency and impact for that desire to be liked. It sounds like.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, Caryn, all the snaps. Yes.
Yeah. I'm thinking like I have clients who have very strong faith, are parts of church communities and stuff. And I'm thinking like you like to drop an F bomb. They like to drop some scripture. To me, this is the same conversation. It's like when you show up and let yourself come out all the seams and not worry about what's flying out of your face when you're working with people, that's when you get to have that impact that really you're here to make.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
weirds people out when I can drop scripture too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really weirds
Yeah.
them out. But I'm like, I'm I'm at peace, so
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Right. So it works. What do you
yeah.
think, like from your perspective as a strategist? Because this is businesses of all kind. I know you've like had a business in fashion. I just learned the preacher role for you. I didn't know about that before. But what do you think gets in the way the most for people who don't have their strategy together? Like, what do you wish everyone would just know?
Oof. Okay. Well, this is literally what I teach. But I always say, if I could put something on a billboard, because like that's the question,
Yeah.
is it's easier than you're making it.
Okay.
And this is what I teach in my program, honestly, because a few years ago, I had this observation of even my big 7-figure clients coming to me. Oh, and I want you guys to all please lean in, lean in. Big clients. I have an 8-figure client right now. Okay. And I was talking to my dermatologist about this the other day, and he's like, "Oh, big businesses, bigger problems, huh?" And I was like, you know what? That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You would think so.
But
But
no.
I always get called in to fix the basic, boring shit. And so I think so a few years ago, I changed the way I work and I created this program that's really foundational
Mm-hmm.
business. It's really like what I want you to know about your business. And these are the things you have to have in place. And trust me, my 8-figure clients, we go back and talk about this stuff.
Yeah. The fundamentals are always key.
Yeah. And that's what I
Yeah.
want people to know, because I think we're also in this social media era where we have big influencers, big coaches with big audiences telling us you saw somebody the other day say you don't have a business if you don't run ads. And I'm like, well, actually, I've grown tons of 7-figure businesses without running ads. I don't know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But
Was he selling an ads product?
yeah, of course he was.
Yeah.
I know. I want to be the person in the comments who's like, does anybody else notice this correlation? Okay.
Yeah.
I won't be the troll. Okay. Um, I see my clients doing all the things, putting on all the bells and whistles, putting on all the systems and the tools and the softwares and the automations. I'm like, here's the thing. If the business is actually easier in that, business works more simply than you realize. And if you are putting all that stuff on top of a leaky foundation, that's why you're getting frustrated and banging your head against a wall, wondering why it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, well, I paid thousands of dollars for that course and implemented that, and I did that, and I've done that thing. And if you're doing that on a weak structure, it's the same as in sports, it's the same as in art.
Yeah.
You can't be a concert pianist without knowing how to play scales. You can't be a famous ballerina without doing thousands upon thousands of plies and tendus. Like, you can't play professional basketball without running suicides. Like, it's not any different in business, but for some reason, we're being kind of sold that it's different.
Yeah. And I think one of the ways you can tell your fundamentals aren't in place is if you're buying it. If you're buying that a fancy tactic or thing will be the thing that works for you, there's a gap in your foundation that needs to be figured out. And generally, the things that seem like a really good idea on an Instagram ad aren't the thing that will actually help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's the one thing I want people to know.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, I think it's tough to sell it's like left-handed layups for a right-handed person. Everyone's got to know how to do it, right? And it's harder to sell. It's not very sexy. It's not flashy. It's boring. It's consistent. Like in an ideal world, our businesses are so boring and just like these beautiful, calm, amazing, structurally supported sound things. But
Yes,
yeah,
I
yeah,
know. I know.
yeah.
No,
So,
I
but you do
always
it.
say,
You
like,
sell boring.
this, huh?
You do it though. You sell boring really well, right?
Well, I think I'm selling boring really well. By the way, guys, I hate my copy on my website. It doesn't do justice. So it happens to me too. Um, but I think the thing that happens is entrepreneurs are brave.
Mm,
They are a little bit, they're willing to go against the grain and do the thing, and they're creative.
yeah.
And so you get a person with those character traits, and they're like, it's got to be this, and it's got to be, oh, I'll do this, and I'll add that, and I'll make this new offer, and I'll make this new offer, and I'll make this new offer. And I'm like, hi. Welcome to the world of business, where the rules are different here. And that's what I feel like I'm always like,
Hmm.
yeah, yes. We're gonna let all that creativity flow. But first,
Right.
let's make sure we put these things in place. And I think that's also partly why I am as goofy as I am and as animated as I am, because I'm like, I know what I'm about to tell you is really boring. I know, but I will
Yeah.
try to make it fun. Uh,
Nice.
because it's like, yeah, we kind of got to know the numbers. Yeah, that offer you want to do, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we kind of just need to do voice of consumer work so we understand what your people really want and what they want from you. Yeah, go do it again. Or like, that didn't work. Do it again.
Yeah.
Really? That's your answer? Yes, do it again. Like, it's
Reps.
boring and repetitive. So I'm like, yes, I will try to make it fun and song and dance for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, what works
Yeah.
is boring.
I love it. I love boring, but I love calm.
Me too. I think you and I actually have, as much as it seems like we don't, we have that in common. Like I,
Yeah.
you said this in a group chat that we're in about how you're creating space for yourself to have your own office and have your own space. And I'm like, yeah, girl, do I need I can spend like silent retreats, believe it or not, easy peasy for me.
Oh, interesting. I've never tried one.
Mm. I'm like happy sauce. I'm like, yes, no social media, nobody talk to me. I'm in my happy place. Yeah. I
Yeah.
like calm. And so, and that's what I try to teach in a fun way that you can have a business that works, that's profitable, and that's calm because it shouldn't be taking over your life and your
Yeah.
brain space and your energetic space.
Yeah. I have one more question just about like one thing I see with coaches is like we come into business. Well, actually, we don't. We come into coaching and it's like, oh, coaching. I love it. It's the best thing. I've been waiting. It's finally who I am. And it's like so exciting. We get really into it. And then we realize to be a coach, we have to have a business. And then it's like, I'm all into business. I'm like all the things all the time. It becomes my whole life. So we're in this already this like elongated pattern of new, constant, new dopamine kind of stuff. And then there's this stage where like business is just business and I just am a coach and I know how to do both. And it's like, what are you working with folks to get out of the like trying to create all the dopamine in your business and create it in your life? Is there a certain stage where you're like, stop trying to mess everything up just to be exciting and move into like, maybe you need to get a hobby? Is this a thing?
It is a thing,
Yeah.
absolutely. The way that I approach that is, and my clients get frustrated with me when I do this to them because now they know, especially if they're in my like level 2 program, they know what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
they're like, ugh. And I'm like, I know, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you really want? What do you really want? Let's go back. I make all my clients write an actionable business vision. So it's not a vision statement. It's actually a full document of the business that you're building and what it looks like and what it looks and feels like to run it,
Mm-hmm.
life looks like. And so I'm always like, if you say you want that thing you wrote about, why are you behaving like this?
Good question.
And so all to me, it always comes back to I think it's so easy to get caught up in the hamster wheel and the comparison game and 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 I don't think social media helps because we're subconsciously being bombarded all the time. And it's like, I have a client who's like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I don't, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
didn't you just say you want to run your program twice a week and be able to travel with your husband whenever he goes on these trips and that you wanted to make this much, if you make this much money this year, you'll be good. Like, aren't all those things true? Still, if they're not, that's okay. We can change the plan. But I gotta
Mm-hmm.
make sure before we change the. If I get sucked into your emotions and your hamster wheel, and I start pivoting for you and pivoting the plan based off of that, I'm a bad strategist and
Mm-hmm.
coach. So I'm like, where are these feelings coming from? Where is the desire to do more coming from? Let's get clear on that first. Is it really you, or is it you feeding some childhood, I'm not enough, I'll never be enough, I'm not worthy, I'll never have enough rejections. Are you feeding that monster? And if so, let's talk about that. But the business strategist in me cannot step in and get sucked into that.
Right. Good
And it
answer.
took me a
Love it.
long time doing that. I've coached, I was a head coach for a coaching company. I've coached hundreds. Before coaching, I was a COO. And I've coached hundreds and hundreds of different types of businesses. And it took me, the over pleaser in me and the overachiever in me, I used to adjust the strategy to the person's emotions and mood on a certain day. And then it would backfire. So
Right.
I'm just saying this took me a long time to figure out, oh, they're going through something that's more emotional, limiting belief, comparison based, rather than they're not in clear mind, right?
Yeah. I love that. It reminds me of like there's this idea in boats of sea anchors. And when it gets really rough out, you put these things out the side. It's like, even if everything is chaos, you are more smooth because you know you are anchored in these ways. It's like values or this vision that can hold us even when things feel really out of whack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Any last things that you want to add or say or share with a bunch of coaches who love business and coaching?
That's a great question. Well, what is it that because you said, I love coaching and now I love my business. What part of your business do you love and enjoy running it as a business?
Oh, I've always loved business. I grew up in like a whole bunch of family businesses. And so for me, business is like family and it's community and it's how we make great change. So I like when business growth happens and you hit new milestones, you can like spend your money in a different way. You can make sure your money is going where you want your vote to go. And you can donate in different ways, which I think is really fun. So that's what I'm finding interesting right now.
Yeah, that's cool. And when you say it's a healing modality, how does that come up for you?
Yeah.
Some mine are totally different.
Yeah. It's going to bring up your stuff. So it's similar. It's going to bring up your stuff and it's going to give you an opportunity to work through it in a way that can be a tax write off because it's your business. Right. So I think it's like this really fun avenue towards healing and growing yourself. If you let it, it can also do exactly the opposite. If you ride your business like all comparison and you get caught up in the wave of whatever's happening, like so many people require so much recovery from what they've done in business, from where they've been kind of carried on that wave.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can go both ways.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, I love that. Yeah. I find myself with certain clients who are bigger, I find myself a lot of times undoing
Yeah. Deconstructing.
told to do.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it takes a long time because they resist me saying, you don't have to do that. We could actually turn that off and it probably won't even make a difference. And they're so like, because the ads and the previous guru coach was so convincing,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. And it's fun, right? It's like fun to ride that wave of the guru for a while, but then you come off of it and then you have to recover from it. And a lot of times, if you've like implemented all these strategies and tactics from someone else and they're not you, it's like, even if it grew your revenue by 200%, if you have to deconstruct it all and get back on the right path, it seems to me that you don't, it's like a net neutral. Like you might as well stay on the slow and boring path.
Slow and boring is the way.
Slow and boring. That's my new slogan.
That's the title of this episode. Slow and boring.
We should call it the opposite of that so someone listens, but yeah. Yeah.
The fast track to seven-figure growth.
Exactly. Is to go very slow, get the fundamentals, don't do anything that isn't you. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
actually it is the fast track.
It is. Yeah. Literally. Slow and
It
boring
is.
is the fast track.
Slow and boring is the fast track because all of that other stuff just veers you
Yeah.
off and you're going to spend tons of money and it's going to veer you off your own path. And then eventually you're going to come back.
Yeah. Which when I'm working with people at certain points, it's becoming really clear that they love learning. It's like, okay, do you have the emotional bandwidth to go and take on another certification program and still run your business and not end up somewhere else, right? Like make sure you have everything you need, that it can feel like new learning is extra or a hobby or on top of the slow and boring that you already have going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good call.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an Enneagram 5, I just learned recently, which means I love knowledge and love learning.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you got to build it in.
I have 4 degrees and a certification until I finally realized maybe maybe I don't actually need to learn more for my business, but give myself the joy of reading books totally unrelated,
Yeah.
learning new things, because that's part of what, but I had to learn that the hard way for sure.
Yeah. It's big. I have an announcement to make to everyone on the podcast who's heard me say I'm an Enneagram 9. I'm actually a 7.
Oh,
For
did you
years, I thought I was a
shock the
9.
people?
I don't think so. I think the ones who care already know.
What's the
But
7 again?
um, they're out to have a good time. So I'm always trying to figure out how to make everything fun.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. She
Yeah.
shocked her audience.
Yeah. I
You're
don't think I told everyone that yet. So I thought I better, because really like transparency. So I had to get it out there.
Did you take one of the tests and go, oh gosh, I'm not what I
No.
thought?
We had a guest on the podcast, Heidi Listing, I think is how you pronounce her last name, a few episodes back. And she actually reached out to me after every single message that I had messaged her had the word fun in it. And she didn't like let me on to what was happening, but she goes, I'm doing an Enneagram certification. I need a few more people to do the thing and check out what their number is. And I did it with her. And you have to choose yourself. And those tests, I guess, are usually not the best way to do it, which is how I had found out I was a 9 before. But she was like, you need to choose. She's like, I think you need to choose potentially like between this number and a 7. And it was just so clear once she said it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting because I did kind of the online things and I always thought I was I think I thought I was a 7 or an 8. I thought I was an 8. And then I took it with a colleague of mine who is a master
Mm-hmm.
coach. And I took the official,
Cool.
like, oh, you're a 5. And at first I was like, huh. And then I read it and I was like, oh my God,
You're right.
that is me.
Yeah, it's so
Feel like
funny.
I have to know and understand things before I move.
Mm,
But then I have an 8 in me. So then I will move. I will pack a punch. So you won't know I'm a 5 because I pack a punch. But I do
mhm.
actually need to take in information, analyze, observe, take all the pieces in. I need to feel like I know and I'm coming from a place of knowledge and wisdom. And then I can coach or teach or speak or do the thing, which is true. It's
Yeah.
people in my whole life thought I was slow. My whole
Oh,
life I've been told I was slow.
nope, just thoughtful.
No, just I gotta like feel really good. And then I'll be like,
Yeah. Yeah, I
I would
love
have
that.
never picked 5 for myself if I had to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And I think one of the most helpful things that Heidi said for anyone who's not sure about their number is she said, answer the questions as if you're in your 20s, because oftentimes we've kind of developed so far out of that like very obvious typing. So as soon as she said that, I was like, well, I'm a 7, like so clear.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, here's to more fun.
Yeah. Here we are, just learning about ourselves no matter how old we are.
You know,
Yeah. All
that's
right. So thank you for being here and for sharing all of the boring, beautiful, calm, lovely, thoughtful things that work.
yeah.
I want to know where people should go if they want to know more about what you're doing or if they want to follow you and your energy wherever you go.
Yeah. On the socials, Instagram, I think, and TikTok, it's Celi Grows Business, CELI. That's super easy. And then my website's called Grown Ass Business. So
Easy. Love it.
easy.
Nice to put the swear word in the name so people know what they're up for?
I didn't even know, like my friend Diane was like, Instagram and Facebook considers that a swear word. So if you ever do try to do ads, you're in trouble. And I was like,
Dang
damn,
it.
really? I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't even think that was I didn't know the word ass is a swear word, but according to Facebook, it is.
Yeah, my daughter just asked about that the other day. I did tell her it officially is a swear word.
See, that says a lot about me. I was like,
Hard to
there you
know.
go. I'm not for everyone.
No, me either. It's perfect that way.
It's perfect that way. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for having me. This was a joy.
Yeah, it was really good to have you on here, get to know you a little bit better, and enjoy your everything that comes next.
Thank you. You too. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. That was fun. That was fun to talk about strategy with someone who is strategy first, not coaching first. Oftentimes, I mean, I'm coach first most of the time, even though I was born into a land of businesses and I feel like I have business in every cell in my body. I was also born a coach. So I feel like business and coaching are very intertwined for me. And Celi so clearly is strategy and then brings the coaching in on the other side of things. So it's always fun for me to think through and hear other people's perspectives on how they think about it and what order they think about it. But I think the message is clear. There are fundamentals. There are fundamentals in everything that we do. I'm so clear on this right now, watching my daughter Liv, who is 8. Everything she learns, it's learning the fundamentals. It's like math. You don't start with algebra. You start with addition, as hard as that may be, right? And basketball. I didn't start running zone offense. I started learning how to dribble, right? We don't do the fancy stuff until we know how to do the basics. So, as a quick check in for you as we wrap this episode up, just consider if your foundation has any of that feeling of like, I need to hone in on the basics for a bit. There's some very essential thing that feels, it's making me feel a little bit wobbly because it's not there. And if you need support figuring out what that is, there are people like Celi and myself who can help with that. So reach out because it's easier to do it with someone who can see it. I don't do all my stuff by myself. I hire help. I get coaches, I get strategists, I get people to look at my stuff with me because it's hard to see our own foundations and what's missing. All right. Have a great week. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast. I may have already hit it by the time this one airs, but I'm hoping to get to 100 reviews. So go ahead and give it 5 stars and write a review because it helps the pod. All right. Good to be here with you. Have a great rest of your week.